私が月を破壊した犯人です。来年の3月には地球も破壊する予定です。ということで今日から皆さんの担任になりましたので、どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。
Class 3E welcomed a very special teacher. This strange, octopus-like super being had a top speed of 20 max. He could circle the Earth several times in just a few seconds. Not only that, but his body could transform into various shapes. He could even create multiple shadow clones to help students with their studies. But his reason for being here wasn't just to teach. It was for the students to kill him, because for him, destroying the Earth was easier than crushing an ant. Directly doing it was simply boring. So he applied to the government to become the teacher of this lowest-ranked class. If any student managed to kill him within a year, he would abandon his plan to destroy Earth. As a result, the government set up a massive 10 billion yen reward. Anyone who killed this mysterious being would receive the reward and graduate. They also provided students with special bullets and knives. These weapons wouldn't harm ordinary people, but for him, they could be deadly. To help the students kill him, the Kunugigaoka of Defense assigned Umen to be their assistant teacher. At the same time, the reward attracted a top-class female assassin. She secretly infiltrated the school, trying to kill him. But no matter what methods she used, she couldn't harm him. Instead, the assassin was captured by him and became Class 3E's English teacher. Even the AI gun turret sent by the government was easily dealt with. It transformed into a new transfer student, Ritsu. The students also gave him a name.
じゃあさ、殺先生にしない？殺せない先生って意味で。
From then on, the students began their lives trying to figure out how to kill their teacher. This classroom was also known as the Assassination classroom. However, during their free time, Kolo-sensei also tutored the students, because a skilled assassin is a jack of all trades. Using his 20 Mach speed, Kolo-sensei created shadow clones and tutored all 28 students at once. He took the students who struggled with English directly to the other side of the ocean. He took the students who loved history on a field trip to the pyramids. Under his careful guidance, Class 3E ended up with 6 students ranked first in their respective subjects. As they continued learning and attempting assassinations, time passed quietly. There were only 6 months left until the students' graduation. The upcoming school festival next week was a perfect opportunity for an assassination. The large number of students attending would help distract Kolo-sensei's attention. This would make the assassination easier. However, Kunugigaoka also mentioned that the Ministry of Defense would send a sniper named Red Eye. If they wanted to get the reward money, they had to act before Red Eye did. As everyone was looking worried, Kolo-sensei walked in. He was extremely excited about the annual school festival. To that end, he shared his biggest weakness with the class. Because his speed was enhanced so much, Kolo-sensei didn't have much strength. As long as all of his tentacles were suppressed, his movements would be restricted. But even if the students gave their all, they still couldn't touch a single one of his tentacles. However, to make the school festival more interesting, Kolo-sensei suggested they could rehearse a play.
先生、主役よりと
Soon, the day of the school festival arrived, and every booth was bustling with activity. Only the booth for Class 3E was deserted, because all their activities were set up in a secluded area far from the main school campus. At that moment, Biki-sensei was energetically trying to attract spectators.
私の演劇を見に来てね。
はい。
Meanwhile, Kolo-sensei, disguised, was handing out flyers at the entrance of the school festival. Unbeknownst to him, the Ministry of Defense's sniper, Red Eye, had already locked onto him. Just as Red Eye pulled the trigger, Kolo-sensei's figure suddenly disappeared. It turned out he had gone to prepare for the play that was about to be performed. So, Red Eye followed and sneaked into the theater. To his surprise, the students on stage were openly assassinating Kolo-sensei as part of the performance. Just as Red Eye was about to join in, Kolo-sensei grabbed him and pulled him onto the stage, making Red Eye play the role of the villainous Red Ogre. As the Red Ogre was defeated, the play came to a successful conclusion. But Kolo-sensei didn't kill Red Eye. Instead, he let him go.
怪物のくせに立派に先制してやがる。
After the performance, Kayano asked Kolo-sensei to help move some things to a small house. But just as he turned around, the small house was surrounded by white cloths soaked in the drug. Kayano also revealed her long hidden tentacles. In an instant, she attacked Kolo-sensei.
大好きだよ、コロ先生。死んで！
Under the double attack of water and tentacles, Kolo-sensei was immediately suppressed. However, it seemed that Kayano didn't have full control over her tentacles. Before long, she was in pain, curling her body into a ball. The other students were completely confused by this, but Kayano barely lifted her head and revealed an astonishing fact to everyone. She was actually the younger sister of Yukimura Akira, the former homeroom teacher of Class 3E. Kolo-sensei froze in place upon hearing this. He could only watch helplessly as Kayano escaped. When the students asked, Kolo-sensei said he would explain everything after bringing Kayano back. Kolo-sensei, transformed into a dog, easily tracked Kayano down. But Kayano refused to give up her hostility toward Kolo-sensei and insisted on fighting him to the end. Kolo-sensei understood that Kayano's tentacles were not just weapons, they were also draining her life force. This fighting style was causing massive harm to Kayano, so he hoped the students could find a way to make Kayano temporarily forget her murderous intent. Only then would Kolo-sensei have a chance to remove the tentacles from her body. Kolo-sensei deliberately exposed a weakness to lure Kayano into attacking. As expected, Kayano took the bait and hit Kolo-sensei. While both of them were restrained, Nagisa seized the chance to climb to the roof and stop Kayano. Meanwhile, Kolo-sensei quickly removed the tentacles from her body. Seeing this, the students quickly surrounded them. It turned out that Kayano had grown up with her sister, Yukimura. But one day, when she went to the lab to deliver something to her sister, there was a sudden explosion. By the time she arrived, she only found her sister's corpse and a blood-soaked tentacle monster nearby. From then on, she hated that tentacle monster. It was at that moment that she found her own tentacles. Following a note left by her sister, she came to Class 3E at Kazuki High School. She came to seek revenge on the tentacle monster. But in her time with Kolo-sensei, her murderous intent gradually became unclear. Now, Kayano herself didn't know what to do. Seeing this, Kolo-sensei had no choice but to reveal his past. Before becoming a monster, he was a perfect assassin, known as Shinigami. His mind and skills were considered top tier. But just as he was about to kill nearly 1,000 people, he was unfortunate enough to be captured by a secret organization for antimatter experiments. The leader of the project was a man named Yanagisawa, and the person responsible for monitoring him was none other than Yukimura-sensei. Though Yanagisawa was Yukimura's fiancé, he would either hit or scold her. He treated her like a tool to be used. Yukimura worked as a high school teacher during the day and would come to the lab to assist at night. So, she told Shinigami many stories about the students of Class 3E. This sparked Shinigami's interest in the profession of teaching. As the experiments continued, Shinigami's body gradually began to transform into tentacles. But as they spent day after day together, Shinigami's feelings for Yukimura grew warmer.
今度クラスでやるクリスマスパーティーの衣装を着てみたんです。ちょっと見てもらえますか？じゃーん。
違うんですよ。おそらくこの実験の影響とかで。
なんか職種さんって正直ですね。あ、もし平和な世界に生まれてたら、あなたはちょっとエッチで頭はいいのにどっか抜けてて、せこかったり意地張ったり、そんな人になってた。あなたは本当に優しい人。
One day, Yukimura gave him a gift. It was the one-year anniversary of when they first met. Shinigami had long forgotten his own birthday, so Yukimura decided to give him one. Shinigami slowly walked to the glass. Through a small opening, he conjured a hand and gently touched Yukimura's cheek. Even through the thick glass, their hearts felt closer than ever before. Meanwhile, Yanagisawa was throwing a fit. The white mouse, which had the Shinigami's cells implanted, caused an explosion during the experiment on the moon. This meant that the same explosion would occur in the Shinigami next year. The immense power of the explosion could even destroy the Earth. As a result, Yanagisawa immediately decided to execute the Shinigami. Yukimura immediately told the Shinigami as soon as she heard the news. But after hearing the news, the Shinigami decided to cause a ruckus in the lab. In fact, with his abilities, he could have left long ago. But he hadn't taken action because of Yukimura. At this moment, he realized he could no longer be with Yukimura. He then used harsh words to hurt her, trying to force Yukimura to leave. But Yukimura went to Yanagisawa to try and convince him to stop the plan, only to be met with a vicious beating. Yanagisawa even activated the tentacle landmines, specifically designed to deal with the Shinigami. But the rampaging Shinigami remained completely unaware. In the moment of danger, Yukimura stepped in and took the blow for him. The Shinigami once thought that with his powers he was invincible, but now he could only watch as she fell into his arms. Before she died, the one thing Yukimura was most worried about was her students. To give the Shinigami a reason to live, she entrusted her students to him.
弱くなりたい。弱点だらけで。思わず殺したくなるくらいに親しみやすいのがいい。そんな教師に精一杯やろう。彼女がやろうとしていたことを自分なりに。
This is why the Shinigami became the current Kolo-sensei. He wanted to use his last life to give his students a gift of growth. Rather than being killed by a stranger or an explosion, he would prefer to die at the hands of his students. At this moment, Nagisa and the others finally understood the challenge they were facing. They could only continue their assassination efforts while searching for ways to help the Kolo-sensei, because assassination was the deepest bond between them. Meanwhile, Ritsu infiltrated meetings of world leaders to gather classified information. They discovered a drug that could extend the Kolo-sensei's life. but it required early research data on super beings. This data could only be found with Dr. Yanagisawa, but he had already disappeared. However, Shiratori knew where his secret base was. It was there that he had originally been implanted with the tentacles. They immediately headed to Yanagisawa's secret lab. After Ritsu's decoding, they successfully obtained the circuit board with the data. Then Okuda began the experiment, with everyone else pitching in to help. After countless failures, they finally succeeded in creating a crystallized substance, but the higher-ups could no longer wait. They prepared to activate the particle accelerator, to launch a protective shield and trap the Kolo-sensei. Then they would proceed with the extermination plan. The students who had planned to deliver the medicine to the Kolo-sensei were also captured by the military along the way. They were all thrown into the dungeon. It turned out that the higher-ups had never intended to rely on the students to complete the task. They planned to fire the laser at midnight to kill the Kolo-sensei. Looking at the cold expression on Kurahashi's face, the group's hearts sank. They had no choice but to place their hopes in Ritsu, hoping she could open the electronic lock on the door. But to their surprise, Ritsu had been turned into a useless husk, and now they could only rely on themselves. Then Akabane came up with a good plan. They created an explosion using dust to draw the guards' attention. Then, as the guards opened the door to check, they ambushed them. The group successfully escaped the dungeon, but at the entrance, they ran into Kurahashi, who had been waiting for them. However, he showed no intention of stopping them. Though he was from the Ministry of Defense, he was also the assistant homeroom teacher for Class 3E.
今夜12時、確実にレーザーは発射される。これが最後の授業だ。
はい。
After they escaped, they realized that they had ended up on the back mountain of the classroom. At that moment, Biki-sensei also arrived to assist. Although she initially wanted to kill the Kolo-sensei, when she saw the students she had spent so much time with, she decided to cover for them and help rescue the Kolo-sensei. In her heart, there was something more important than assassination. So, the students used the chaos to infiltrate the stationed military. Using the various assassination techniques they had learned in the assassination classroom, they successfully threw the military into disarray. They even managed to bring down the highest-ranking officer. The higher-ups were furious and dismissed Kurahashi from his position, locking him up. There were only 6 hours left before the laser was fired. The students finally climbed up the back mountain and stood before Kolo-sensei. Okuda handed Kolo-sensei the vial containing the antidote. They all thought that once Kolo-sensei drank the antidote, everything would be over, and that they could all leave safely with him. But no one expected that Kolo-sensei couldn't escape the shield designed to contain him. Just as Kolo-sensei was about to hold the graduation ceremony there, an uninvited guest suddenly burst in. It was Dr. Yanagisawa. Nagisa quickly stepped in front of Kolo-sensei, but Yanagisawa gave a mocking smile. It turned out that he had leaked the initial data on purpose. The information there was completely useless. He wanted them to taste hope first, and then complete despair.
お前の最後の1年の全てが無駄だったと否定してやった。
無力感にあふれた生徒たちの面を見せながらお前を殺すことで俺の復讐は完成する。
As he spoke, he implanted multiple tentacles into his own body. Yanagisawa no longer cared about his life. His only goal was to kill Kolo-sensei. But Kolo-sensei was no match for the mutated Yanagisawa and could only take the blows. Still, he stood firmly in front of his students to protect them. Just as Kolo-sensei was on the brink of death, Kayano stepped forward. But before anyone could react, she was struck and sent flying by Yanagisawa. Kolo-sensei rushed to catch Kayano in his arms. Kayano had always felt guilty toward Kolo-sensei, especially after spending time with him. She regretted taking revenge on him and forcing him to reveal the truth. So this time, she wanted to protect him in her own way. Seeing Yanagisawa's arrogant face, Kolo-sensei showed his fury for the first time. He used all his strength to defeat Yanagisawa, then carried Kayano back to the classroom. To prevent another tragedy, Kolo-sensei had already evolved a new ability. Under the students' hopeful gazes, he used the last of his strength to save Kayano. Then, in a weak voice, Kolo-sensei asked everyone to end his life. If they didn't, the laser would soon be fired. So Karma called for a vote.
殺したくないやついる。じゃあ殺したいやつ。
Everyone made their choice and placed their hands on Kolo-sensei's tentacles. The final blow was left to Nagisa. At that moment, they were no longer Class E of Indy. Each of them had become a true assassin. But as they looked at Kolo-sensei's calm face, waves of grief overflowed from their hearts. Even Nagisa couldn't stay calm.
そんな気持ちで殺してはいけません。落ち着いて、笑顔で。さよなら。コロ先生。はい、さようなら。卒業おめでとう。
And just like that, surrounded by Kolo-sensei's golden light, they graduated, but not a single smile appeared on anyone's face. At that moment, the higher-ups noticed the super being's life signs had vanished. The golden orb drifted toward each member of Class E, as if bidding them farewell. Years later, Kayano returned to Class E's old classroom. She thought back to those special memories of assassination. Nagisa, inspired by Kolo-sensei, had also become a teacher. He too arrived at a classroom filled with the worst students.
俺らに命令すんじゃねえ。殺すぞ。
Facing those unruly kids, he made the same choice Kolo-sensei once did.
殺せるといいね。卒業までに皆さん席についてください。授業を始めます。